Hello. Hi. How you doing? Pop quiz. What do these things have in common? Alcohol, cigarettes, employment, food stamps, Medicaid, Social Security, unemployment assistance, car rentals, airplane seating, marriage certificate, and all this stuff. Have you guessed what they all have in common? At some point, you would need a photo ID to attain them. Now, attaining a photo ID is not a problem for any legal citizen in the United States. Case in point.
I'm Ami Horowitz, and I'm here in Berkeley, California to find out if voter ID laws suppress the black vote.
Very interesting video, because in it, Ami Horowitz asked people, were voter IDs racist? And this is what some people had to say.
Would you go as far as to say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African-American vote?
Definitely.
Tell us how.
Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs you do over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data.
For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed.
So some people believe that black people can't go to the DMV or use the internet. And then later on in the video, Ami Horowitz asked some black people what they thought of some of those comments. And this is what they had to say.
Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so we know what we need to carry around.
Everybody that I know have ID. Like, that's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with. ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
Is it a weird thing to even say that?
Yes, it is.
I heard a lot also that black people can't figure out how to get to the DMV.
Really?
What does that say to you?
I know it's at on 25th Street.
Do you know where the DMV is around you?
It's on 125th Street and 3rd Avenue, I believe.
You know how to get there?
Yeah.
Would you have a problem getting there if you had to get there?
No.
I know these sound like silly questions. You know how to get to the DMV?
Of course.
You know where it is?
Yes.
You can get there?
Uh-huh.
No problem.
No problem.
Just checking.
Okay.
And I also heard a lot that black people, especially poor black people, have no access to the internet, can't figure out how to use the internet.
That's just stupidity, honestly. Everybody has access to the internet. Even a little kid can figure out how to work the internet.
On March 1st, 2021, Georgia House Bill 531 was passed. And there were some people who did not like that. In fact, they were very vocal about their grievance.
Attention, attention. I am Sergeant Wong with the Georgia State Patrol. You are in violation of 1611 34.1.
Go. Step aside, ma'am. Step aside.
Not only did people protest inside the Capitol, but they also protested outside the Capitol.
I'm so sorry y'all young people have to go through this
Really?
time and time again. I'm 55, and this is such a disgust that brown people, we still have to freaking fight for the right to vote. I'm so freaking sick of it. So y'all are my daughter's age and my son's age. My mom is deceased, but when she was younger, she didn't even have the right to vote. And I'm so sorry for y'all that y'all gotta go through this in 2021.
Depending on your politics, you saw Georgia Bill 531 as either common sense or CBS 46 reported, HB 531 is textbook voter suppression. This bill reduces, restricts, and limits every single aspect of our election, decreasing the time to apply for absentee ballots by 62%, declared Representative Jasmine Clark, Democrat, Lilburn. And in that same article, CBS 46 reported this. House Republicans argue the bill, which has no Democratic support, will increase integrity, security, and trust in elections. 11 Alive reported on House Bill 531 and added this information. House Bill 531 is a 66-page bill that would create tighter restrictions on in-person voting, vote counting, and especially absentee balloting. It adds an ID requirement for absentee ballot requests, but just an ID number if it's government issued, like a driver's license. It requires a copy of other identifying information like a utility bill if the voter lacks a government ID. It limits the number of absentee ballot drop boxes. It also requires drop boxes to be kept indoors and inaccessible if the building is closed. It shortens the absentee voting period and limits weekend early voting. We know that forcing counties to choose between Sunday and Saturday voting is targeting black voters who have used souls to the polls to cast their votes after church on Sunday, said State Representative B. Guyon, Democrat, Atlanta. As of this recording, Georgia House Bill 531 has left the House and has gone over to the Georgia Senate, where Democrats have threatened to take the matter to court if it becomes law. Now, I would think that election integrity would be a bipartisan issue because so many people have lost faith in the election process, mostly because of things like this.
So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses?
People will argue until the end of time about whether or not the 2020 presidential election was stolen or not. And depending on your personal politics, you will think that their argument is valid. Case in point. Consider this. Do you think that this is sour grapes?
First of all, we should have voter ID. When you vote, you should have voter ID. And if you send something in, you should be sure, as a state and as a country, you should be sure that that vote is meaningful and it's not just made fraudulently, because there's a lot of fraudulent voting going on in this country. This country should have voter ID.
And what about this? Is this person just being a sore loser?
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did.
I think every action possible should be taken to ensure that our elections are safe, secure, and come with very harsh penalties upon those who cheat the system. And I believe this for whoever is running for elected office. What do you think?